Thanks. Epele, how we doing?
We're doing fine.
Awesome.
You over there?
Me, I'm doing well. I'm doing well also. God is good because God is gracious. God is gracious. Life is about growth. When you see growth, you are happy. When you don't see growth, something is wrong. Wherever God is, there's growth. If you don't have growth, something is amiss, right? Because God is a progressive God, right? He's a progressive God. It's either progressing knowledge, something is increasing. I mean, growth is a sign of life, right? And where God is, there's life. And you should see that life, you should feel it, you should know it. And it also comes from a place of confidence also, So we'll thank him for his grace. We thank him for his mercies, And it's kind of strange. And it's also part of faith, right? I don't know. God just loves faith. And faith is the currency of heaven, like we know, And it's easier to do something that I'm used to, something that I know, than to do something that I don't know. Right? It's easier. And that's carnal, and that's where people miss God. And that's why the Israelites miss God also. It's kind of strange the fact that God brought them to the mountain and wanted to speak with them directly, not through Moses. The God of heaven wanted to speak with them directly. He wanted to have a one-on-one relationship with them. He wanted them to be priests because God's idea was to make the whole of Israel like the church. His idea was to make them a nation of priests. It was to separate them, was to show an example of a nation with a God. That was God's original idea, right? So when he brought them out, he said, come out to worship me. Right? You want to say something?
No, not at all. Listen.
All right. Yeah, I said, come out to worship me. He didn't want to go through Moses. He didn't want to go through Aaron. He wanted to speak to them directly. And that's what happened at the mount when he said, consecrate yourself. I will come down and speak to you. But they rejected God. They said, this one with all this earthquake and fire, we must sanctify ourselves for this. We should not touch this. We will die with this, that. This kind of God is different from the one we saw in Egypt. The one in Egypt allows us to do the thing that we want to do. We satisfy him, he satisfies us. But this one, this God, we have not seen him before. Say, Moses, please, we are okay with you. You talk to your God, we will hear you. Whatever your God tells you, we will hear you. And that's because it's just the human tendency, to worship idols, to worship religion. You don't need faith. It goes with your natural person. That's why it's easy to do religion. It's easy to do babalawo and do religion because it's all about what I can feel. It appeals to my sensation. It appeals to my sense of guilt and my sense of pleasure. All of them mixed together is okay, right? And you see that it was easy for them. It wasn't that they didn't want a God. They just didn't want a God that they were going to serve. They wanted a God that would serve them. Because their problem was not a God. Their problem was Jehovah. They didn't want to bow down to God. They wanted a God that would serve them. Because the same people told Aaron to make them a God. So their problem is not having a God. Their problem is which type of God. And what is the relationship with that God? Is it a God that they have to reach out to in faith, or the God that they have to reach out in their emotions, in their feeling? Because it was easy for them. They made a God. Like the Israelites in Egypt, they had several gods to meet several things. They were shepherds. They made a god of a calf, right? They made a god of a calf and did according to their feelings. They could commit fornication, adultery, all those things, because it was just part of the worship. And that's what they wanted. They wanted a God that will allow them freedom. We'll continue after we pray. Let's